Hi, I'm James McGuire, and today we're talking about IT as a service, specifically HPE's Greenlake offering. To discuss that, I'm joined by two HPE executives. With me is Arwa Kadira, Vice President, Worldwide Sales and GTM Leader at Hewlett-Packard Enterprise's Greenlake. Arwa, how are you today?
Hi, it's good to be with you, James.
And tell me, where are you located today?
Today I am in Canada, specifically Edmonton,
Okay,
but my home office is typically based in the Bay Area, just right outside of San Francisco.
sounds good. Also with me is Bill Manel, Vice President and General Manager at Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. Bill, how are you today?
I'm good, thanks. Happy New Year, everyone.
All right, so let's take a look at HPE Greenlake. It's IT as a service. In essence, HPE is renting the hardware to a customer. The customer has it in their own data center, their own facility. What are the details on this?
Yeah, no, thanks for the opportunity, James. HPE GreenLake effectively is the cloud that comes to you, either to your data center, you're also able to have it in your colo or at your edge. The unique sort of value prop within GreenLake is that it combines the best of our capabilities into a single solution for our customer. So if you think about HPE's rich heritage in IT infrastructure, the hardware, layer in the point next services that we also provide our customers, bring in HPE FS's rich history of sort of financial arrangements, as well as a lot of the software capabilities that we have. In addition, we also have a rich ecosystem of ISV partners and service provider partners, as well as system integrators that play in the GreenLake ecosystem. So GreenLake ultimately does become the cloud that is served to our customers directly from their on-prem location of their choice. So it's a very unique end-to-end, scale up and down, fully metered. Customers only pay for what they use. And again, I think the really compelling value prop to our customers is the automation, the self-serviceability, all of the things that they've become accustomed to in a cloud world, but with greater control over their security as well as their environment.
It seems, and I correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, it is hardware as a service. I mean, I was the cloud in general, but can I think of it as hardware as a service? Is that accurate or not necessarily?
Well, I mean, it could be, many things. It could be hardware, it could be software, and it's or solution from that standpoint is what we prefer for most customers. And on top of that, we often bring in additional services to enrich the customer's experience. Get the right configuration for them. Run customer reports. These sorts of things are available as well.
Mm-hmm. So there might be some scenarios in which a customer does not rent any of HPE's hardware, but they're using GreenLake.
Yeah, I mean we've got some software options.
Okay.
So ML Ops as a service, for example, that's something that you could you're actually just using that as a development environment.
Mm-hmm. So how does it compare with some of the large cloud providers, the additional other large cloud providers in terms of it's consumption based pricing?
Mm-hmm.
Are there advantages or disadvantages there? Or what is your take on that?
Absolutely. I think the advantages are going to be, first of all, you have a lot of data gravity issues around some pretty major production grade or sort of tier one applications. Those become very expensive to run in the public cloud. You also start running into security, or what we like to say, data entanglement issues. A lot of your applications may not be so clean such that you can decide, okay, I'm moving this one to the cloud, but this one in on-prem. And for those complex apps where, again, data sovereignty or security, et cetera, are major issues for you, data entanglement then becomes an issue. So beyond sort of what I would consider the security, there's the control. Sometimes you want more control over designing an optimal environment, right? And we know that there are more limitations on what is available in the cloud than what you might potentially want to design that fully integrates into what you've potentially already designed and invested in. So a lot of that control, those design decisions, the data latency issues, if you are running sort of these critical critical mission, critical systems whereby you can't afford latency. So sending data up and down may be sort of the huge difference in allowing you to run some critical processes. Egress, financial cost could be pretty massive. Again, especially as your workloads get bigger and bigger, there are some huge cost advantages as well to you.
Bill, what do you see in terms of how GreenLake interacts with some of the other cloud offerings? Advantages there, or what's the key point?
Well, I think versus a typical cloud offering, I think the typical cloud offerings, especially in my space, which is high performance computing, tend to be much more standardized. So they might offer fewer options to the customer, not exactly having the config that they would want, maybe not having the most updated hardware from that standpoint. So the cloud providers need to sort of offer, in order to make their economics work, they tend to offer more set configurations, and they don't necessarily adopt the latest and greatest technology on a schedule that some of the customers in my space would like to see. So we offer more than that to a large extent. So the customer can more finely describe the config they want.
What about those customers who have a full-fledged data center, or at least part of one, and they might say, well, how does the total cost of ownership stack up with us continuing just merely to run our own data center versus GreenLake? Arwa, what do you see here?
Yeah, we've done a lot of TCO analysis, and some of it has been, thanks to the good work of our analyst community. In a typical sort of procure your own hardware, right, and then fully manage it yourself, or install it and sort of run all the services yourself. From a GreenLake perspective versus that, we typically see about a 30 to 40% saving on TCO. And again, a lot of that has to do with the fact that we are the experts on ensuring that we put the right amount of gear on your floor, give you a buffer capacity for that unforeseen utilization requirement that you may have, as well as only bring in sort of the next set of capacity when needed. So you're not procuring everything upfront in a capital purchase, putting out huge cash outlays. We're really doing all the heavy lifting for you to map out the environment that you need, size it correctly, and then only bring in the growth as you need it. Now, again, I think from a public cloud perspective, again, similar things, right? The public cloud's going to ask you to make huge commitments upfront for reserved capacity or reserved instances in order for them to give you some of those discounts. Again, from our perspective, we are happy to give the customers the additional capacity only when they need it. So we typically aren't going into a model whereby we're asking the customer to commit to that maximum capacity upfront on day one and starting to charge for it. So those are some of the savings that come into that 30 to 40%.
Is the 30 or 40, go ahead, Bill. Yeah, I was going to say, my question is the 30, 40% in relation to a data center or the cloud, or how does that, what's that relationship?
I'll defer to Arlo on that one.
Okay, yeah.
I was going to add something else.
Arwa, did you want to clarify that? Is the 30, 40% in relation to a data center or a cloud deployment, or not either one?
Yeah, no. So from a cloud deployment perspective, we can certainly be very complementary. And, we're the first to say that, 90% of customers are going to run a hybrid scenario, right? We're lucky to have a lot of expertise within our advisory and professional services that actually advise on that very topic. So I wouldn't say generically that's just a GreenLake versus public cloud or GreenLake versus data center. It's more of a comment of when customers start to look to see, do I build it myself, or do I bring in a consumption-based model if I'm going to decide to have something on-prem? That's typically when we work with them to ensure that they're getting that 30 to 40% savings.
Gotcha. Bill, were you going to add something?
Yeah. One thing that's not considered by a lot of customers is that, I have a customer that I'm exec sponsor for, and they struggle with getting their hardware into production. I mean, they literally bought a cluster from us 6 months ago. 6 months later, they still only have half the cluster in production. If they had gone through GreenLake, they could have had 100% up And so now there's like a 6-month opportunity cost that they've lost in terms of utilizing new hardware that, by the way, they're paying for, they paid for already. And so that's a huge advantage to customers. You know, being able to get started right away, get their project going, makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm. What about the idea of edge computing? It seems like edge computing is today's cloud computing, and that, you know, cloud was really hot and new a few years back, and it's really matured, and edge feels like it's now undergoing this rapid growth period. How does GreenLake relate to the world of edge computing? Or what is your view on this?
Yeah, no, you're 100% correct, James. I think the new wave of innovation is going to center mostly on the edge, right? Which is, you know, modularized sort of, you know, the compute, storage, and networking capabilities need to be near the center of gravity of where sort of that raw compute is going to be operating. And it is going, you know, the sense that we're going to put everything into a single, you know, data center or into a single sort of cloud region is not probably where all the growth is going to be. I think the edge in the edge scenario, as well as, you know, sort of remote locations, disconnected environments, all of that is likely where the next iteration of technology and innovation is going to come from. We're super proud that we've already started a lot of that work. We have multiple offerings around the edge from a GreenLake perspective, and have a very rich product roadmap that we'll probably be announcing over the next few months as well.
Uh-huh. Bill, GreenLake and edge computing, how would GreenLake help a company that wants to move their edge computing deployment forward?
Well, certainly, you know, I just kind of talked about that a little bit. So, you know, as a company wants to compute more on the edge, you know, sometimes they don't have the expertise to do that. So we can actually bring that in. I mean, my own experience on the edge was trying to get my printer working the other day after a power failure.
Right.
And would have been lovely if someone could just manage that software for me. And it just got up and run. It just got up and ran by itself, kind of thing. Someone,
Right.
you know, whistled off and got it started. So it's even more important, right? Because a lot of times the edge is an oil platform, or, you know, it's an aircraft, reconnaissance aircraft circling. So
right.
in that case, you know, you really need this kind of capability, remote management, configuration, these sorts of things as well.
Yeah, we're seeing huge opportunities, yeah, on the defense side. I think on the telco side, you know, certainly in manufacturing, oil and gas, et cetera. You know, even the whole sort of driverless car opportunity, where we have some current projects underway to be able to start powering, you know, fleets of cars, you know, through various car manufacturers or the manufacturers of various parts of cars that then go on to sell their capabilities to the car manufacturers. So being able to take that compute, storage, and networking capability, have it in every car, and you can only imagine that those use cases are multiplying throughout.
So you're saying that GreenLake is actually also involved in some driverless car projects?
Absolutely.
Huh. Okay. It's a much larger idea than I realized, now that I hear the term you talk about it. Okay, that's interesting. What about high performance computing? I think companies are really hungry for that. They just need to crunch more and more data faster. Bill, how does GreenLake work with high performance computing? How does it move that forward?
Yeah, you're right. You know, the growth of data has really gotten a lot of companies interested in high performance computing, because you know, data that you don't compute on just takes up space, right? So you want to get value out of the data by computing on it, but you often don't have the expertise. You may not have the right kind of data center even to allow you to put high performance computing type equipment in. So you want to look at alternatives. And so that's where GreenLake is perfect, because again, can get you up to speed more quickly. It allows someone else to manage it for you. You just use it from that standpoint. So from our perspective, it opens up a whole new set of clientele, customers that would like to and probably need to, from a competitive point of view, be doing HPC, but they really feel like they can't. Now we've got an offering for them, and we can either bring it to their data center, it can be in a colo, or even in an HPE data center as well. So a lot of different options for them.
Interesting. Okay. Are there something to add about high performance computing and HPE?
Bill's my expert there, but no, I think, you know, for me personally, the exciting part of our, you know, sort of GreenLake HPC as a service offer is our ability to move up the stack, right, and really start to deliver an end-to-end value to our customers that is fully managed, right? And we are bringing that automation, we are bringing that sort of building block approach so that customers get access to the stuff, much quicker, again, fully managed for them. We're integrating some of those third-party ISV applications that are critical for those HPC workloads. We want to be the ones doing the heavy lifting on behalf of our customers. We believe that our customers have better use of their time specific to their business strategy. Anything that we can abstract away from them ultimately is our goal with GreenLake.
Hence the term IT as a service. I mean, why don't you handle it
Exactly.
for me? And there you
Absolutely.
go.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we have this conversation a couple of years from now, or even say 2 to 4 years from now, where we're thinking about future directions, what might HPE Greenlake look like in a few years down the road? If you could just gaze into your crystal ball, it might be a guesstimate. Any sense of that?
I think what we're attempting to continue to do, we've been at this for over 10 years, so we feel really strongly about the leadership position that we have as of today, being sort of the leading hybrid cloud provider. I think what we will continue to do is just expand those capabilities. Like today, if you look at some of the recent announcements we just made, it does start to center around industry solutions, sort of fully managed ISV solutions, right? Like if you look at healthcare, or you look at manufacturing, or you look at banking or financial services, all of these sectors depend on key technologies to run their business. Our goal is to provide as much of that value in a seamless and in the best ROI to our customers, right? We understand, again, our customers want to sort of move as much of the things that they see as low value added activities. And so I think our continued vision will be to continue moving up the stack, continue, providing the IT as a service, but also the platform as a service, all the way integrated to a point where, hey, if you want to use, and SAP is a great example. We've already announced this, right? But SAP as a service, right? It's effectively an SAP offer, but fully powered by GreenLake. This is the customer edition that we just launched or announced in September of last year. It really takes all of the complexity out of the customer's hand. The customer doesn't have to worry about the infrastructure. They don't have to worry about managing it. Buy it from SAP, fully managed by us, all the way up to that, right below that application tier. SAP takes care of the rest. So building those partnerships with the key ISV ecosystem is critical. We're also spending a lot of time with everyone from, the system integrators to the, managed service providers to the cloud service providers. The other thing that we're also doing, and you talked a little bit about our public cloud sort of, is it a compete? Is it a, parallel? We're also a managed service provider for Azure, for example. So in many respects, customers can effectively say, look, I don't care where my compute, storage, and networking come from. You manage it all for me. And in some cases, we might tell them that this is going to go into Azure and this is going to be in your data center or in your colo, right? We have many customers that have been working with us in colos and at edge scenarios. So I look at us to be the experts in helping our customers make those decisions so that they are getting the technology horsepower that they need with the right value set.
Interesting. Okay. There's a lot going on, to be sure. Bill, your sense of the future, say a couple years down the road for GreenLake, what would you foresee?
Yeah, I completely agree with what Arwa was talking about. Going up the stack, offering solutions in particular industries around particular applications. In my area, computer-aided engineering is a key area. There's ISVs out there, and so instead of managing the infrastructure, you just dial up your favorite CAD app or CAE app and just run with it. You don't have to worry about all the infrastructure. It opens up the market because now lots of people can take advantage of the technology without having to be an expert on investing in that technology. So I think from an innovation standpoint, it'll be pretty significant for a lot of our key markets in engineering and technology.
Interesting. You know, I spent about a half afternoon reading about GreenLake, and I thought I knew a bunch about it, but I realized, oh no, it's far. I thought it was essentially hardware as a service with expert support, but no, it's far larger than that, and it's kind of interesting to hear the two of you speak about it in that regard. At any rate, I thank the two of you very much for sharing your expertise. I definitely learned something. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
You're very
James.
welcome. Thank you.